The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this episode are that of the guest and host and do not necessarily reflect the values of sponsors or other associated organizations. Welcome to the Parental Compass by Family Education and Support Services. I am your host, Bobby Williams. As always, subscribe to the show. We want you to hear all the episodes. Tell a friend to tell a friend. For young people entering the workforce, it can be an intimidating situation. How do you start to look for a job? How can you find a job that is actually meaningful to you? What can parents do to provide support? Well, here with some of the answers is Lori Thompson, a regional administrator with the Capital STEM Alliance of ESD 113. Over the years, Lori has worked with hundreds of employers and hundreds of young people to make career connections. Along the way, she has gained a lot of knowledge, which she'll be sharing with you right about now. Check it out. So what are the common mistakes that young people are making in like an interview or when they first enter a new job?
So for interviews, having interviewed many people myself in my career, I have seen some common mistakes. One of the most common is dressing inappropriately for an interview. If it's a Zoom interview, that's fine. You can often just wear whatever's on top, and that's okay. Background makes a big difference on a Zoom interview. You don't want your interviewer's attention to look at the background. You want all their attention to be focused on you. But dressing for an interview is very important. It's always good to dress up a little for an interview, even if you know that the job might not entail dressing up. So, for example, if you're going for an interview as a line cook at a fast food place, you may not need to wear a suit and tie or a dress, but it would be nice to be neat and clean and well groomed because it does make a good impression on an interviewer, on someone who's hiring. Um, Always try to make eye contact and be pleasant. Don't give away too much information. Talk, 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 talk. The best thing to do is just answer the question that is put to you. I've seen so many people who think that the interviewer wants to know more information than they do, and they go off on a story, and it's difficult to bring them back. Or sometimes not answering the question adequately at all. It's not a political thing. They just want to know if you're qualified for the job.
Mm.
And as far as mistakes that I've seen when being hired, I would say that some of the mistakes that the worst mistakes I've seen are on the part of the employer because they don't understand how to do an orientation. They do not understand how to onboard a new employee who may not have any experience. And so it's really important for an employer to really understand what the new hire knows and be willing to train that person. Give them some time. Sometimes a more difficult job or a technical job that requires a lot of skill will take 3 to 6 months to onboard someone. It's always a steep learning curve.
So our audience for the show is parents, but how can parents be supportive? Is it a matter of just helping them do a Google search or connecting with the Chamber of Commerce, or what can they be doing in the background without being like a helicopter parent showing up to the job interview with them or something?
Yes, and I will say that parents are a great asset when it comes to helping their children find the first job. Parents know people. Networking is super important when it comes to finding the right job. And I can't even stress that enough. You don't even know who you know until you try to help your child get a job. So I wouldn't be shy about asking anyone that you know that might know someone who is hiring, or ask them for specific sites that worked for them. There's so many websites out there that uh, that young people and anyone can access to apply for a job. But the best is word of mouth. And if a parent wants to really help their child, get them into searching on the internet for those particular keywords, just having them be persevering, because that's what really gets the job, is that one person that stands out, who's willing to go that extra mile. And if a parent can help a child just show some grit and just hang in there, encourage them and spread the word, and maybe just kind of drive them to their first interview and wait outside in the car. I mean, sometimes that is what it takes. That happened to me. My mother stood outside and waited for me my very first job, and that really made me feel better. She didn't have to come in with me, but it was nice because I knew that I could let my hair down afterwards, and my mother was out there waiting for me, and I could cry if I did a terrible job. But and then just to let their child know that you may not get the job the first time, the 10th time, the 15th time, or maybe even the 50th time. It takes a long while sometimes to get a job, because you have to remember there's a lot of other people out there in your position who are looking for a job as well. So it's okay to be disappointed, but just keep going, just keep at it, because eventually it will help.
Trying to find a job is so hard too, or it's such a miserable feeling when you don't get a job. I remember I really wanted to get this job in Seattle and was driving from Olympia, which is an hour and a half away or so, and then showed up, 15 minutes late to the interview because of traffic. And then I was all, just felt like stumbling over my words or not confident in myself. And I just knew like I really messed that up and just was like crying on my way home. And
Oh.
you do need like a lot of support during that time. It's a depressing time.
Mhm. I would say that's going to happen to everyone. It's happened to me, where I walked into an interview just feeling like, oh, why did I do this? Why did I do this? And then I knew 5 minutes in, I knew it just wasn't going to work. And it was a bitter disappointment. And I would say to kind of mitigate that, to soften that blow, try not to go too far outside the what you want to do. If let's say you want to work in digital photography or recording or anything, um, don't just take any job because it pays money. Try to match what you really love with what you know and what you want to do. And that's really hard. You have to really sit back and take a look at yourself. I know a lot of schools have those inventories where students can actually decide, help it helps them decide what they're good at, what their talents are. But that's a lot of soul searching that you can do on the front end, so that when you do walk into an interview, no matter what happens, you are confident that you know enough and love enough about the job that you want, that you're interviewing for, that you have a really good shot at getting it, because you can't hide, you can't cover up lack of knowledge. But if you have a little bit of a lack of knowledge and you know something about the job and you love it and you're passionate, you can always learn.
How do you even
It
figure
really
out
does.
what you want to do though? Sometimes I remember being young too, and that was a very daunting thought of like, what are you going to do with your life? And part of, I think, how I learned that was by just trying out jobs that I didn't want and learning like, okay, well, I don't want that.
Mhm. I think that is so true. I used to be an elementary school teacher, and before I started working full time, I was a substitute. And I thought, I don't know what grade I want to teach. And I tried every single grade, one one a different one a day. And I realized very quickly what I didn't want to teach and how I didn't want to teach, just by looking at some of the examples of classrooms. And the same thing goes for a job search. Um, the average person will change careers 3 to 5 times in their life. And it's okay. I know that so many people are afraid that whatever they go into right out of school, they're going to be stuck in forever, and they have to do it. They have to love it and they have to do well at it. but you don't. Every job experience that you have contributes to that knowledge and resource bank and builds skills that can then be transferred between other jobs. So if you like to write and you try working at a magazine and then you realize, oh, that's not the kind of writing I want to do. It's too hectic and fast paced and pressure. But you find out that you really like writing opinion pieces. You could just go, you could take those skills and use them in something else. Maybe you could be an editor or a book reviewer. And you just never know where your jobs are going to take you. You also never know who you're going to meet in your work environment and where they can connect you to others. And the trajectory to your career job, your dream job is never smooth. It's kind of like love. You have to kind of jump from one job to the next. Sometimes you hate it and you have to get out quickly. Sometimes you'll stay in some place really a long time. There's no one formula. I remember when I was younger, the formula was you stay at a job no more than 2 or 3 years, learn what you can, and go up the ladder. But that's not always the best thing to do because sometimes having the depth of experience is more important than just having surface knowledge.
You never know what careers are out there too. Like as a young person, I wanted to be a rapper and musician, and I ended up leading a music nonprofit for youth and becoming a podcast host. And I would have never even considered that as a possibility when I was young.
That's so true. It's funny how people look back at their careers and they think, how did I end up here? I didn't even expect to do this. I went to school for ABC and I ended up doing XYZ. Um, you find your niche, and that's okay. It's okay to take time. It's okay to try out different job careers, and it's okay to not like your job. That's perfectly fine. It's again, it's like dating. You just take the time and you learn something new about yourself with every single experience, which will help guide you into realizing what you really do want to do. Not everyone is lucky enough to accidentally fall into the correct job. I know of young people who do. They, from the time they're little, they want to be a doctor or they want to be a teacher. But most people really have no clue. And that's okay. There's no pressure to just go into whatever someone tells you you need to go into, especially there's folks who, have a family business or dad was in the construction trade and that's what they want their child to go into as well. And if that works, great, but it may not. So you owe it to yourself to try out different things, give yourself some time. And I get it. Money is important. A lot of parents will say, just get a job. I don't care what it is, just get a job. But every experience can be a valuable one, even if you hate it. And it's okay to look for another job once you have one. There's nothing wrong with that. People get that all the time.
A challenge I see with youth is they quit their job because, they're having some issue, but they don't have the other job lined up.
Mhm.
So I hope they stop doing that.
It's okay sometimes. There are situations where it's okay to do that. I guess everyone has to decide that for themselves if it's worth or if you're independently financially well off, and you have the leisure to do that, that's great to be able to soul search and really decide what it is you want to do, is take some time out, leave the workforce. Other people don't feel comfortable leaving a job unless they've already got another one lined up.
What about college, though? I think of college as it's a way to show employers you were able to stick with something for 4 years, so you're consistent. Is college the only choice, though, or what are the other options? Or is college very important?
I'm so glad you asked that question. About 25 years ago, we had a slogan in this country, and it was called Leave No Child Behind, No Child Left Behind. The problem with that was that in not leaving anyone behind, we left everyone behind. And as a former educator, I can tell you that not every child is cut out to go to college. And college is not the answer for everybody. There are so many jobs out and careers, good paying, highly skilled careers out there that do not require a college degree and do not cost what college can cost and do not put a student in debt for the rest of their life. Um, there are apprenticeships, there are internships in so many different occupations, from the healthcare field to construction to hairstyling to, STEM fields, whatever they may be. What's important to remember is that there are so many options that need to be researched before jumping in and just doing what someone expects you to do, like you're going to college. I know that used to be such a huge thing in educational circles, and it's slowly changing. I don't think it's changing fast enough. And this is where I believe that employers, the business world, the work world, has to really reach across to the K through 12 education system and say, hey, your child can get a job here and bring home a great salary that supports a family and helps them buy a house and has a pension, and they don't need to pay $50,000 to get it. Um, there are there are some really great apprenticeship opportunities out there. Labor and Industries, which is in every state, has a huge listing of apprenticeships that will that students or anybody can look through and decide, wow, this is something I might want to try. And apprenticeship costs are already built in. So if a young person decides to enter an apprenticeship, whatever that is, and they commit to it's a 2 to 4 year or 5 year program, just like college, the cost of that apprenticeship is typically between $7,000 and $15,000. And it's already paid for. It comes out of your salary while you're already working and learning. So you have a job, you have benefits, you're going up the pay scale, you're learning from a mentor, a one-to-one mentor, everything you need, and you're not paying for it out of pocket. And when you're done, you have a journey level credential. You can usually take it anywhere across the state and often across the country, and you don't have any debt, and you have some amazing skills.
Lori Thompson, thank you so much for taking the time for doing this today. Do you have any closing thoughts or advice or words of encouragement for those listening?
Sure. It's thank you for having me. And I would like to say that I really understand working in the workforce development field. I get how hard it is for young people these days to find a good job and career and all the pressure that's on them. But the one piece of advice I could give them is cut yourself some slack. It's okay. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Take the time to get to know what you want to do that makes you feel happy and fulfilled, and that will help support you for years to come. That's what the most important thing is. Make yourself happy.
Great words to end on. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Lori Thompson, Capital STEM Alliance ESD 113. The next generation of young people entering the workforce is happening right now. And I'm glad there's people like you and your organization helping to prepare everyone for success. This has been the Parental Compass by Family Education and Support Services. I'm Bobby Williams. We'll see you next episode. Peace.